Supreme Court has landed a body blow to BCCI President N Srinivasan in a major indictment of the BCCI chief. The Supreme Court has said that Srinivasan must step down so that there can be a fair probe in the IPL scam. The Supreme Court said that it was quote-unquote nauseating that Srinivasan remained the BCCI chief.
It's taken the apex court of the country to put the BCCI chief N Srinivasan in his place, clearing the pitch for the strongman of Indian cricket. The court said a fair probe in the IPL scam was not possible if Srinivasan was chief and that he should quit if a fair probe was to be conducted. Though the court stopped short of ordering his removal, it said the contents of the Mudgal committee report submitted to it in a sealed envelope are damning. It also said it was nauseating that Srinivasan had remained the BCCI chief. The court wondered why Srinivasan was sticking to his chair, saying if he did not quit, it would be forced to pass an order. The court even asked the BCCI's lawyer to look at the contents of the envelope and decide not as a lawyer, but as an officer of the court whether Srinivasan should step down.
I believe it's an observation. It's subject to the response of the BCCI, and I believe the case is listed day after tomorrow. So you will come to know on day after tomorrow what happens. I mean, you see, our job was to submit a report on a factual finding and make some recommendation. We have done both.
तो सील्ड लिफाफा के ऊपर बात आई और उन्होंने बीसीसीआई के लॉयर को माननीय न्यायालय ने कहा कि अगर क्रिकेट को आपको साफ करना है तो श्रीनिवासन को स्टेप डाउन करना पड़ेगा। अगर श्रीनिवासन स्टेप डाउन नहीं करेंगे तो हम वर्डिक्ट पास करेंगे, जो भी वर्डिक्ट होगा।
The BCCI chief is sticking to his guns and seems in no mood to abdicate, even though the board has taken notice of the court's objections.
As I said, that if it's the Supreme Court, we'll have to be all bound by what Supreme Court says. There will be no choice. It cannot be ignored, but so far I don't think there is any announcement because I have not had any intimation.
It's a great pronouncement by the learned judges. They are absolutely right, and I feel vindicated. I think it's a wonderful, really a great judgment. It's a great thing for the Indian cricket.
It's now up to the BCCI to fall in line and obey what the Supreme Court has said. For now, the court has set Friday as the date for the Indian cricket body to respond.
World T20 is going on, Team India is winning, IPL is about to start next month, and in the midst of all this comes this big blow to the BCCI. N Srinivasan has been saving his wicket for a long time, but this time around it might just be very difficult for him to get a favourable decision from the third umpire. From New Delhi with camera person Probir Biswas, Atit Sharma for Headlines Today.
Well, as you can imagine, we've been getting so many reactions from all across as far as this story is concerned. Let's get you some of those now.
Order of the Supreme Court is a final and binding. So if the Supreme Court says he has to step down, he will have to step down. Mr. Srinivasan has been asked to step down from his president post of BCCI. There are two versions. One is that he is supposed to step down because of that match fixing probe which is completed by the Mudgal Commission. And the second version is that Supreme Court has said that he has to step down to enable any inquiry to be impartial. So that's the version that I have heard.
I've just reached back from my constituency. I'm not aware of this. We'll look into detail what they have said, and whatever right decision has to be taken, we'll take that. I haven't seen the judgment, what order has been passed, what are the obligations, and what are the detailed points in that. Rather than saying anything without reading it won't be appropriate.
Can't really give an opinion. I think I have respect for the judiciary, and I think you should have the same. So I don't think it's my place to answer that question. So we will go with whatever the Supreme Court orders, and that's that.
Sir, इतना ही लाइन सर. Sir,
पूछो हुआ क्या?
इतना ही दे दीजिए ना.
इतना ही कह दीजिए ना कोर्ट का.
सुनो.
अरे खबर ना.
इतना ही कह दीजिए ना कोर्ट.
Former Indian cricketer Nikhil Chopra is with me here in the Headlines Today studio. Nikhil, we're calling this endgame Srinivasan, but, to state the obvious, it's been many hours since those observations came from the Supreme Court, we haven't got an official response from the BCCI or from Srinivasan, Mr. Srinivasan, needless to add. I mean, what's going on? I mean, is there a way to sort of, read or, second guess what the Supreme Court says? It's pretty obvious. It's nauseating that he's still stuck on his chair. What's all this delay about?
I don't know. I'm a little surprised myself as well. Somebody from the board could have come out and give us a statement, address the media of what the course of the action would be, because the hearing was in the morning, and I'm sure the board's lawyer would have been present there. You cannot ignore or push aside the Honorable Supreme Court's observations. So I guess they'll have to react towards that. Maybe I think some of the senior members of the board at this moment in time, Shiv, would be sitting down trying to figure out how they can take this forward at the end of the day. The board is running the cricket in the country, and the season is just about to start. And don't forget, our team is also presently in Bangladesh playing the T20 World Cup as well.
And also, Nikhil, there are going to be questions and a lot of curiosity and intrigue about what's happening within the BCCI right now. What kind of route will be taken in this transitory phase, given that the Supreme Court has not given N Srinivasan a choice?
Well, I guess if Mr. Srinivasan steps down, because that's what the apex court wants him to do, and so that there could be an independent probe, it's going to be interesting who they get as the next top boss, who will be overlooking the inquiries of the IPL scam or whatever's happened. It's going to be interesting from here on in.
Jaskirat Singh Bawa was in Supreme Court when that, when those observations, very scathing, almost unprecedented observations were made. Jaskirat, how long has it been since that ruling came out? It came out this morning. Let's try and calculate how many hours it has been since that time, and how many hours it is that N Srinivasan hasn't stepped down. Because for the person watching this, the cricket fan out there, when we opened up our phone lines, when we created the Clean Our Cricket hashtag, the question everybody's asking is, what's there to discuss? The Supreme Court has said, get off that chair or we're going to do it for you. So what's the delay?
Well, let's understand that it's been about 7 hours, in fact, exactly 7 hours since the Supreme Court came out very hard against N Srinivasan. I could actually see the build-up of the anger of the Supreme Court bench over the half-an-hour hearing that took place today morning, when Justice Patnaik came out and asked the BCCI Council to step forward, come close to the bench and look at the contents of the sealed envelope, and then decide as an officer of the court and not as a paid lawyer of the BCCI to decide whether or not Srinivasan should continue as the president. Asking Srinivasan to step aside pending the investigations which are going on, suggesting that the investigations cannot be free and fair as long as Srinivasan is the president, giving him almost an ultimatum of 48 hours to decide how he plans to go forward. Does he plan to defy the Supreme Court directive? Because surely, if he doesn't step down after 48 hours, day after tomorrow, we will be seeing a very detrimental and a very negative ruling from the Supreme Court.
And the thing, Jaskirat and Nikhil, is it's not like it hasn't gotten nasty already. It's gotten embarrassing. The dignity has been stripped out of this entire equation. There are millions of dollars involved in this sport we're talking about, and yet you see these behemoths, administrators still stuck to their seats. What are the wheels that are turning, at least even at this late stage after the Supreme Court said what it did, like Jaskirat just reported. I want to go across to Srisha, who's been staking it out. I want to tell our viewers, she's been staking it out for the last 6.5 to 7 hours, if I'm not mistaken, Srisha, right outside N Srinivasan's residence and the India Cement's office, trying to get a reaction from them for 7 hours. Absolute silence, Srisha.
Well, that's right. We have been waiting here as soon as the news broke out, and he did not speak at all. And once he was here, and then he had drove down to his boat club residence, which is like few kilometers away from the India Cement's office. And again, we had tried to track him down to his residence as well. He did not speak. When again he came back, he did not speak, and he's still inside the office. We're still waiting outside to get a one word from him. What is he planning to do?
Yeah.
What is the next course of action? Of course, we have been hearing from Srinivasan's camp that they are trying to explore the legal options. But again, he has less than 48 hours, in fact, to decide. Because remember, when the IPL spot fixing scam had broke out, he did not step down but has stepped aside. So even this time, whether are they trying to look into that angle as well? But now he has no other way to just step down from his position, because he has been drawing criticism from all quarters. We did hear what AC Mote has spoken, and everybody, most quarters and people have been welcoming such a decision by the Supreme Court. But again, no word, absolute silence from Srinivasan and Srinivasan's lawyers, even though they have not come out openly to say anything, because to the media who've been waiting outside for more than 7 hours, in fact.
Nikhil, how does this seem to you? Because, given that you can't mistake what the Supreme Court has said in those observations today, how do you actually see this playing out? Do you think that, I know I'm asking you to hazard a guess here, but do you think N Srinivasan will, voluntarily step down? Or is it, like Jaskirat said, going to be a possible waiting until an order is passed by the Supreme Court where they actually legally don't have a choice then?
I don't think so. I guess, Mr. Srinivasan would step down. He would, take into account of what the Honorable Supreme Court's observation has been shared. And, he'd probably step aside and say, fair enough, if you think I'm going to try and, stop the investigations if I was the president, he'll make sure that he steps aside, comes back, probably later on, or whatever happens, or whatever the findings are. The important thing is we need to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Whether if he's involved, his son-in-law is involved, not involved. But I guess in due course, the law will take its own course.
Yes.
But if he needs to step aside, I'm pretty sure, asked by the apex court, I'm sure Mr. Srinivasan would go ahead and listen to the apex court.
And Jaskirat, it's anger. What Nikhil says is right. There is an investigation into the culpability in the entire fixing scandal itself, which is being investigated separately. But the limited position is this man needs to step aside because there's a conflict of interest. And like you pointed out, Jaskirat, and you've been, covering this case, you've been personally present in court for all of those hearings. You've actually seen the anger by the court actually intensify until it virtually exploded today in that disbelief.
Well, that's an interesting thing over here. It's not just Srinivasan. While a lot of the attention is actually on Srinivasan as the BCCI president, and as someone who actually has a lot of clout within the BCCI, we all understand that.
Yes.
What is really need to be understood is the Supreme Court was also very implicit in its expression against the BCCI as a whole, identifying that a lot of wrongdoings have been brought forward by the Mukul Mudgal Committee report.
Yes.
The Supreme Court went so far as to suggest that the only reason such things have come out is because the people who are taking the decisions have allowed it to happen. So it's not just Srinivasan. The Supreme Court is very well aware it's not just about one man,
yes,
but the BCCI as a whole as well.
It's the BCCI. I mean, at this point of time and for many months now, N Srinivasan has become, willy-nilly the face of this entire episode. He, of course, is the president of the BCCI. It's been a bumpy ride as far as he's concerned. But like Jaskirat said, this isn't just about N Srinivasan. It's also about the culpability and the decisions taken or not taken by the BCCI and what it has allowed to happen as one of the most powerful sporting bodies in the world. The massive and irrevocable taint that has fallen on Indian cricket. Perhaps this big ruling by the Indian Supreme Court will be the beginning of some kind of a cleanup. Clean our cricket is the hashtag that we've put out on Twitter. We want you to join the conversation right through prime time. We've got more breaking news, I can promise you that. So join the conversation and stay tuned with us. Thanks very much, Srisha, Nikhil and Jaskirat for joining me on this particular segment.